Push the button.
Push the button. Hey, good evening, everybody, and welcome to Roll for Effort. I am Jason Scranton, your host this evening, and I am here with Joe and Park, awesome DMs and players alike. This evening we're doing System Curious with Lamentations of the Flame Princess. Hello, what a great system, guys. Before we dive into it, though, real quickly, please help us grow our channel. If you like this content, tell us and share it and, help us grow. We really appreciate anything you can do. Don't like our channel, tell us, because, we would like to know why.
Right.
Not really.
For sure.
Just kidding. I might care. Maybe.
Don't say a word.
Oh yeah, lawyer speaks. So shut up. Alright. Lamentations of the Flame Princess. Holy crap, Joe introduced us to the system. Because we were like, okay, we're going to start running some other systems on the channel. And Joe was like, you know what? I want to run as the next DM. And I'm like, great, well, what kind of system do you want to use? And you chose...
Yep, Lamentations of the Flame Princess.
Yeah.
So I do actually real quick want to start out saying for folks looking at System Curious for more Earth Dawn, we'll get back to that for certain, but we're stepping over to Lamentations of the Flame Princess because we are actually currently in a campaign using the system. So I think it would be really cool to do a deep dive kind of side by side with that every month.
And it's
we'll get back to Earth Dawn.
Yeah.
We'll get back to Earth Dawn when there is a game being run using that system. Then we'll do a further deep dive there.
Yeah, and I want to get a game recorded too that runs it. Like, even if it's a short campaign or something, I really want to try the system. There's so much of that I like.
I got you. Like I've actually only ever played Earth Dawn once, but I have game mastered Earth Dawn for a long freaking time.
Nice, very nice. All right, so this is Lamentations of the Flame Princess. It is an amazing RPG. It is not for children. Do not
for children.
Do not buy or read this book if you do not have... See this little 18 plus symbol down here in the art? That means something, and it is, like, for real. It is not safe for kids.
Yeah, and this is the cover of the book, and you can tell there is just... Yeah, all across the bottom, there are gooey, eyeball-y bits. Kids watching turn away now because there are demon boobies.
Right,
I mean...
Right.
It is... Yeah. The art is gory and wonderful, and mature audiences only 18 and plus on the book.
Yeah, and it is amazing art too, guys. It is top shelf quality. And this book, by the way, if you want to get it without the art, it's free.
Drive through RPG.
Nothing.
The art. Yeah.
Yeah, you can get an amazing, fully fleshed out RPG for the absolute cost of nothing. So I couldn't recommend this more.
Do you think we can post the link to that in the
yeah,
thingy?
we will. Absolutely.
Yeah, totally.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and if you want the PDF with the art, I think it's like $5.
Yeah, it's not even very much.
If you want the hardback, because yes, this little digest-sized book is knock back. I don't know if you hear that. It's hardback. It is stitch bound. It's not like the world's most famous RPG. There's no glue holding it's stitch. It's real stitching in here.
Yeah.
Glorious paper, full color. Actually, let me not flip that page up.
We were just talking about that.
I mean, it's full color. I'll show one of the less risque pieces of art.
There you go.
It's full color stuff. I mean, it's gorgeous. It's well written. And it's just, it was originally just one guy, James Edward Raggi IV. I'm probably mispronouncing his name. Now I believe there are two folks there. He did bring in like the first full-time dude working with him. But yeah, it's one guy who has done all this stuff. He has worked with freelance artists and freelance writers to curate some amazing, well-written content. All of the books are just phenomenal. There have been a few paperbacks which are done a little bit differently, but all of the hardback books are all stitched. I mean, they're just glorious, and they're hardback.
Yeah, it's absolutely amazing to me that sometimes the small press books are of much higher quality than like the giants, of the titans of the industry, what they publish.
And also another little, stroke the Lamentations, I guess shameless plug. You can go to Amazon and it's like $20 for this hardback print book.
Yeah.
It's like just about 200 pages or so. I mean, it's 164, 170 pages, whatever.
All right.
Great value, $20. Buy the man a coffee. Check out the
Buy
book.
the man a coffee. Yeah, for sure. But why? But why should we buy the man a coffee? Let's get into the heart of the matter here, because there's so much about this RPG to love. So I'm going to start with the one thing that I think makes this a great, unique system. Wait, Park, did you have something?
Roleplay.
Roleplay. Yeah, this is definitely a system that is strongly designed to promote roleplay. And it took me like one session to kind of figure out, like, wait a second, this is not like the games that I've been playing with ICRPG, which is very, at least how we played it, and to be fair, and it could be played this way, but we played it in a very combat-oriented sense. This book promotes a very high degree of role-playing by controlling
thinking.
And driving thinking by controlling the power level of your players, right? Like, you're not going to come out the door with, +5 stats. You're going to have like a +1 or 2 if you're really lucky.
Right.
And those are never going to improve.
Yeah.
Unless you find loot that improves them,
Yep. Yeah, and that's actually part of the reason why I chose using this system. For one, it's that familiarity of that base D20, that Dungeons and Dragons style, but it harkens back to an older style. Not to the point of THAC0, because Ascending AC, sorry out there, Ascending AC is really the better way to go. It makes your brain feel good to roll a high number and succeed, versus looking at it and going, okay, I have AC 6, so 6 minus 20 is going to be 14, so I need a 14 to hit armor class 6. Yeah, that's just too much stuff. It bogs down and it messes that limbic excitement of your brain. Go for those high rolls. So the ascending armor class is a big plus. But the danger comes into some of those older things about the fact that your hit points, they're going to suck. They're going to be low. You're probably going to die. How many first characters are you going to go through before you get one that sticks around? It could be one. It could be like a dozen.
Don't know.
There's a danger.
We had in our first.
Dust has 4 hit points.
Yeah, I have 5 hit points.
Yeah.
One of our players actually went down in the very first session or second session.
Yeah, session 2.
Second session. Yeah. A player went down, nearly died. Would have been out of the game for 7 weeks, except for we kind of managed to get him some help. But not in a Scoopy way, in a very much
through roleplay.
Through roleplay, yes. Yeah, with one of the local. Anyway, so a thing that I love about this, and I kind of where I want to start, because I think we're going to deep dive this for a couple of weeks here. What I love about this book is the way it is designed as a system for a setting. The setting is the system in a lot of ways. Mm-hmm. Right? The time period is established in the game. And it takes place... Now, Joe, is this right? Is this just your campaign, or is this the actual system?
No. Yeah,
okay, great. You get all quiet, so I was making sure I wasn't screwing this part up.
I should point out, though, it's not. There is not a lot of setting info, because it's essentially, Earth, 17th century, or 1600s.
Yeah, but that's great. I mean, that's really liberating in a way, and it includes rules for firearms.
Yes, yeah, all the way in the back of the book, past the glossary, there is a section of firearms. He put it in the back because not everybody wants to put it in the 17th century, and you could most certainly use this in in any other fantasy world not set in the 17th century, which is why the 17th century firearm stuff is included all the way to the very back. But it's there because I guess that's how the creator he plays in that general era or that setting.
Yeah.
And there are a few like notes here. There are a lot of other books that have a lot more detail in that era and that setting. But this does give like a lot of the base stuff.
Yeah.
For going 17th century.
Yeah, and I kind of wanted to argue about there not being a lot of setting built into it, because to me, reading through the character... So the way that character creation... We actually have a full video on on where we create characters all together. When you stop and you get to like the section on the cleric, for example, and you're reading through it, I mean, in a lot of ways, he packs in the setting into the character creation.
Yeah, that's actually very true.
Yeah. And that is a big part, I mean, these books, like you were kind of saying, the other books he has, that is where the setting really gets sort of steeped into a lot more. But I think even just in this free, in the free copy of the text, you get a lot of setting built into the characters.
Yeah, and a lot of that comes in from things like, maritime adventures. And they have all like these rules about, the maritime 1600s when exploration was a big part of Earth and ships sailing across the oceans into unknown places. And that's just the basics of it. The big meat is once players get beyond those known realms, like when the mundane starts stretching thin because nobody's ever explored that spot before, that's when the weird and the messed up and the gnarly and maybe some of the Cthulhu-esque and some of the strange, like, alien forces, not like from space, but like from other dimensions, alien forces come out. Sorry, I totally did a sound effect. That was...
That's all good.
It happens. Yeah, like you can see in the cover, like, there is some crazy supernatural madness happening in that cover.
Yeah.
And that's like where like the meat of the weird fantasy role playing comes in, which is the title.
We should mention that it is, even though the setting is Earth, 1600s, 1700s, it is very much a fantasy game. It
can be. I know a lot of people that play it human centric.
Really?
That have dropped all fantasy classes and just go human only.
I think that the way that the book is written, it is meant to be human centric.
Yeah, and that's a good point, Park, because that comes because included. Now this goes back to the old race as class. So you've got like you've got your fighter, you've got your cleric, you've got your magic user, and you have your specialist, which is basically the rogue.
Thief.
Those are classes for humans.
Yeah.
You also have dwarf as a class, and it's got all his experience and saving throws. You have elf as a class. You have halfling as a class. So they don't get the benefit from like the expertise of being a cleric or being a fighter or anything like that. Like they have their own niches that those races fill. Like an elf is like kind of a fighter and a mage. The dwarf is kind of a fighter.
Yeah.
Halfling is kind of a specialist without having that full benefit of being a specialist.
Can I just say the magic of individual class race based experience levels.
Yes.
Right? I already tell it's sort of the secret sauce behind balancing things in the background in an ingenious way. For example, our specialist, who has no magical powers whatsoever, he's already about to be like level 2.
No, he is level 2.
Or he is level 2, right? Yeah,
he just hit level 2.
Right, and I'm playing a cleric, Dustin's playing an elf, and we're like, man, it's going to be a while before we level up.
Well, I was going to say that's kind of funny because I got the first 2 role playing bonuses of the whole campaign, and I'm still not level 2.
Yeah. I'm like right on the cusp. Like I'll probably level up this next game.
Yeah, I probably will too.
Right? Yeah, and on those different experience points, required for different classes, I know Professor Dungeon Master has talked about it. I know Esper the Bard, I think, has brought it up. There a lot of other YouTube channels have brought it up in regards to older style, what a lot of people call the OSR, the old school Renaissance. But in these original like OD&D retro clones, like Lamentations is kind of a BX, or that's basic expert Dungeons and Dragons. Back to the older ones. Yeah. But there's a reason that the specialist, aka the rogue, levels up so fast. They're the guy that's out looking for the traps, and if they don't find that trap and set it off, there's a really high chance they're going to die. So then you make another specialist. So they have a easier chance to catch up if the party is already a couple levels ahead, the specialist is going to level up a lot faster.
Man, I didn't realize the built-in danger.
Yeah. Well, because I mean, like if you look in there at the character sheet, the way the saving throws are set, all it takes, fail at poison saving throw. 9 times out of 10, as written right out of the book, a poison saving throw is generally going to be a save or die situation. If you pass the saving throw, cool, you might take some damage. If you fail, you're dead.
Right. It literally says underneath it, instant death.
Yeah, because that is a definite threat that could really happen.
Yeah.
And that's when you get into, rolling those 3d6 again down the line, place in order.
Yeah. And I think, there's a beautiful section in here, too, about hazards and stuff. And you're right, it is a human-centric game because it does a really nice job of expressing all of the different hazards in a very sort of non-magical way, like drugs and poisons, falling, starvation. A lot of it is sort of what might seem to be very mundane threats, but I can tell you from our role-playing experience that, oh my god, it's on fire. This is such a rich environment to be able to toil in.
Yeah. And again, like any other game, it can be as heavy roleplay or as light roleplay as you want to take it. You can do your basic, hex crawl, exploration, dungeon crawl type adventures with this. You don't have to go heavy roleplay. That's just what, we had talked about, and you can check that out in a session 0. We'd kind of talked about that everybody was looking for more of a character-driven, exploration kind of style of gameplay.
Yeah.
I wouldn't say that Lamentations of the Flame Princess is rules light, but I would say that it is conducive to the do-it-yourself dungeon master in the fact that the core rule book is very sparse. And I'm really glad that Joe picked Lamentations of the Flame Princess for the first ICRPG departure for Roll for Effort, because it does lend to that nature. It's there's not a lot fleshed out for you. There's not a monster manual. There's not all these different things that are explicitly given to you. There is a rule set that is set. It says here's how things work. Here are the classes, and after that, it is left up to you to provide flavor. The only flavor in this tome is artwork and the little bit of maybe 5 paragraphs that you get in the class descriptions.
Yeah.
Other than that, it's left up to your imagination, which I think is great because the little bit of flavor that you get in the class descriptions is awesome, especially with the elf, which I know that everybody, especially in the ICRPG community, is all on, everybody loves dwarves. I have never been that guy. I've never understood why people hate on elves so much, because I think that elves are just amazing. I always wind up playing them, whether it be an archer, whether it be an arcane fighter, blah, blah, blah. That's cool. Me. Right? So when I look at the elf art in Lamentations of the Flame Princess, and I see this androgynous figure that has implied lipstick drawn on, and these breeches that look feminine and all this stuff, and he's parrying with this rapier in a flamboyant style. That's the
that was magic user. Sorry.
Yeah. It's almost as if James Raji is saying, I don't want. It's almost as if he's saying, I don't want you to play an elf. It's very it's almost off-putting. Because this guy's got a powdered wig on. And it's why would the fuck would an elf wear a powdered wig? I don't know. Well, but at least there's flavor there. So that's what I like about the class descriptions.
I can definitely tell you, James Raggi, as far as I know from what he's written, he plays human-centric. So just a little highlight. This was one of the free RPG Day books, James Edward Raggi IV's Eldritch Cock.
Yeah.
That's a whole story for another time. He actually includes a series of playtest notes for a possible second edition that he was looking at. Now, I'm not sure if he's actually going ahead with it or if it was just something he wanted to test. I mean, he's got a thing in there asking about, send him, notes on what you think. But he does mention in here that doing away with clerics because he doesn't want to force religion, on any game. If you want to include it, totally. But he also mentions demi-humans will not exist. This isn't Tolkien. Basically, so like he's basically saying like no elves, dwarves, or halflings in his playtest.
Yeah.
There's some really cool shit and some really interesting mechanics in this that we'll definitely maybe check into at a future time. I almost thought about using them in our campaign, but I thought it would be better to stick with the basics as presented before trying to look at some of these other things.
Yeah.
But definitely for a future time, a lot more to talk about. A lot more depth to get into the system with these, the way the skills or common activities work, the modifiers for all of your stats, the armor classes, the attack bonuses. There's a lot of subtle differences that make this more of a rulings versus rules kind of thing.
Yeah, we're gonna ultra deep dive all of this. Man, thank you so much tonight, everybody who's been watching. We are Roll for Effort. I'm Jason again. It's Joe Park. Like and subscribe, tell your friends, and this is but the beginning. This is like a tiny sliver of taste on Lamentations of the Flame Furnace, because we've been playing this, so I have a lot more to say about this, and I know Joe does, and I know Park does, so we'll be back with this one again next month for sure.
Yeah, so follow along for this, and if you want to see it in action, all the stuff we're going to be talking about here, pop on over and check out Mondays and Wednesdays. We release each of the sessions we've played. Got them split so they're a little more digestible for everybody.
Yep.
But check out the system in action, and the awesome role playing that these guys are freaking doing.
Yeah, watch us make characters. I mean, it's easy. It's just really nice.
Yeah, Session 0 is live now, and by the time you're watching this, Session 1 and 2 should also be up. Check it out.
Yep. Very much.
Let us know what you think.
All right. Bye, everybody.
Later.
Bye. My bad. I think I kind of over-talked through a lot of that. My bad, guys.
It's all good, Joe. It's such a cool system. It's hard not to be excited about it.
Right?